Welcome to Connecting the Community podcast. I am your host, Marge Andre. I will be connecting you to people, organizations, and events that create community. I am creating this podcast in Richmond Hill, an eclectic and very culturally diverse community with lots of trees and streams and interesting people, just up the hill from Toronto. On this podcast, I'm talking with Dr. Jessica Kuhn, the conductor of the Richmond Hill Philharmonic Orchestra. We're going to talk about the upcoming 2025-26 season for the orchestra. Welcome, Jessica.
Hello, Marge. How are you?
I am doing well. I'm very glad we're having this conversation. Now, I'm going to start off by asking you to give a brief history of the RHPO.
Well, the history is long, actually. In 2007, I quit a university teaching job in the United States. And because I was following the opening of this new performing arts center, and I had been kind of following notes about that. And I thought, you know what? The one thing missing in that place was an orchestra. So I quit my job. Nice bougie university job, moved up here and had a meeting with Michael Gritt, made some deals with him, started the RHPO, and we started rehearsing in a high school. I can't tell you where or why because it was like quite illegal. I was teaching there at the time, which is absolutely fine.
Mm-hmm.
And we kind of put together this. I just put out notes to the community and libraries and music schools and high schools and like anywhere I could and collected some lovely people. And we started the orchestra officially in 2008. And the center opened in 2009 and we were asked to play to open the center, which was very, very stressful, but we did it. And it was a brilliant experience for everybody. And that was kind of the kickoff to the orchestra.
Very good. And I have followed you along. I was at that opening. So yes, very glad that you have done what you've done. Now, I think I've asked you this before. I don't remember the answer though. Can you define the word Philharmonic?
I can. And you have asked me this like 4 times before.
Okay.
And a lot of people wonder, why didn't you call it the symphony orchestra?
Yes.
When I was deciding what to call the orchestra, it was between symphony and Philharmonic. And I went to Philharmonic because I kind of sussed it out. Philharmonic comes from the Greek philos, which means loving, and harmonikos, which means harmony. So it's something that is music loving or like a music society. So when I was making this decision, decided that instead of going with symphony, which simply means sounding together, I went with Philharmonic to reflect the idea of people who are devoted to or love music.
I like that answer. Let's hope I can remember that one. In your orchestra, how many musicians do you have?
At the moment, I think we have around 50. We've had 65 before, we've had less, we've had more, and I think at the moment, because we started just like 4 days ago, and I think there were 50 people in the room, and hopefully more will come.
Okay. Now, there's a real diversity, both in ages and cultural backgrounds.
Diversity is key. I mean, we have people from all over, from heritages from all over the world. It's amazing. I love it. It's a colorful orchestra, if I could say that word. Ages, at the moment, I think our youngest is 13. He was 12 last year. And our oldest is, I'm going to say 80, hands over my mouth. So the diversity of age is huge and of cultures is huge. I love it. And, you know, I think we might be the most diverse orchestra I've ever seen.
What about male and female?
You know, that is actually pretty closely even. A lot of people think more girls play than boys, but at the moment, I think we might have more males than females by a smidge, but that too is quite even. Like it is a really, really well-represented orchestra that just kind of people that come, that watch, can see themselves on the stage.
Now, do you have many new musicians this year?
This year we do. I would like more because having been in the biz now for 18 years, I think I mentioned at the beginning, we were told that we were a flash in the pan and we would never last for more than 2 years.
Mm.
So 18 years later, here we are. But we have a lot of young musicians, and unfortunately, they're really good at school and they graduate from high school and go to great universities and move along. And we get to experience a bloated orchestra at the end of April and June because they all come back and play with us because they miss us and we miss them. But in the fall, we're missing them. And so this is a particularly big rebuilding year because we had a huge contingent of our young musicians who were amazing players who graduated and went off to universities that are just like too far away to come and do Monday rehearsals. So we're in a rebuilding year. So anybody that's listening to this, if you know anybody that plays a stringed instrument very well, oboe for sure, we could really use you in the orchestra.
Okay, let's move on and talk about this year's performances. You have 4 shows listed. October's is Pop-On Parades, December Holiday Concert, H2O in April, and Anthems and Icons of Pride in June.
I know. The one that's not listed there is the February concert on Valentine's Day, which we'll talk about in a sec, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Which is a huge, like, star-studded artists kind of one. And then the Pride concert, I want some guests. But other than that, we were not having any special guests because we still are sort of a not-for-profit. Guests cost a lot of money. And, we only do 5 concerts a year, so premiering somebody is a big deal. And I gotta give the orchestra a chance to flex their own muscles sometimes, So you asked me to talk a little bit about the concerts. Pops on Parade, normally in October, I put a more serious concert. It's more serious repertoire, But being a rebuilding year, doing a Pops concert's a little bit easier on the orchestra. But also, too, because of our highlight concert in February, that sort of plucked the Pops concert from February. And a lot of our audience goes away in the winter, and they love Pops. So I thought, well, let's try a new formula and do some Pops in the fall, and let's see how that goes. And I know from our June concert, somebody won tickets to that concert, and she was like, I won tickets to the best one, and everybody clapped, and when that's going to be the best one, everybody's really excited about it. So changing the formula, I'm cool with that. I'm not all knowing and knowing where particular themes should go. So I thought, let's do a Pops concert. And normally I do really kind of geared theme concerts. This time it's just an array of Pops music. There's music from video games. There's music from movies. There's old-time TV show music. There's just so much stuff that is different in context to each other. And there isn't a particular theme except it's all Pops music. Okay, so our December concert, the holiday concert, in the last few years, I've been really kind of angled to do more Pops. I did a full-on sing-along concert last year because something didn't work out. And it was fun, but the orchestra needs more, and especially starting the season with Pops, they need like kind of better literature. Plus, too, there's so much rich literature out there that is written for the holiday season. So it's going to be a bit of a mixture of like really great literature that's orchestral and some sing-along stuff and kind of what we do. So it'll be interactive, of course, with the audience, but also tell a story on a deeper level. H2O is our April concert, and April is always proper literature, like orchestral literature concert month, and everything is about water. It's about lakes and oceans and great composers that have written stuff about water. So it's very exciting because the music is all so beautiful and so good, and I think everybody will need to pee at the end of it. And then
Okay.
the end of the year is our June concert. And we did a Pride concert last season. And I took a very careful approach to that because I had never sort of embarked on something that might be considered like too liberal or something like that. I just didn't know how people would take it. And so I picked all queer composers, and it was all music that you hear at all kinds of concerts, like everywhere all year long, and Leonard Bernstein and Aaron Copland. And it was like really awesome music. And then this year we decided as an organization to go pretty kitschy. And so I think we would like to engage like drag queens and singers and so it's going to be like a lot of music that people hear in like in the club, a super fun wave the flag event. We'll see how it goes. You know what? If you don't take risks, you have no gains.
Got it. Okay. Well, that sounds absolutely amazing to all those concerts, but we want to talk about one more that
It's the February one.
It's the February one that actually the Richmond Hill Center for Performing Arts, they are presenting it with special guest George St. Kitts. I love George. How does that work with RHCPA presenting this one concert?
Okay, so we've done this before with them, and Ellie has been terrific with trying to team up with us and has sort of chosen certain things for us to do where they present, and it's still our concert, but they're kind of presenting it and leading the way. And that's why it sort of doesn't show up on our roster, right? It's their concert, but it's our concert too.
Yeah.
So I still make the concert the same way I would make any other concert, except that they promote it and they put a lot behind it. And we appreciate that so much because it helps us in many, many, many ways. And the February one was one that Ellie really felt strongly about doing something particularly for Black History Month. I mean, last year we did The Lion King, and well, you could see everybody on the stage. It was really celebrating Black History Month too, because The Lion King, those guys are all like in that realm. And this time it is the same crew of people, but George does lots of different shows. And he and I had a meeting some time back and decided to do like a Motown theme thing. And so that particular concert, I can't remember what I called it.
Wasn't it Soul Train or something?
Oh, Soul Connection. Soul Connection. Soul Connection to me means like a lot of things. And I knew it would be a soul connection, and I also knew there'd be a soul music. And George is my soulmate, and so there's a lot of layers to the title, but it's basically going to be a review of a lot of Motown stuff, and I'm have to write it and like all the music. So where the center comes in is they're just promoting it really because nobody else is doing any of the work to put it on the stage. I mean, let's be real, right? But we appreciate so much Ellie's desire to partner with us because like we've been together for a long time.
Yeah.
And it's really, really cool. And it kind of gives us something to give back to them because they've been really kind to us.
Very nice. Yeah. No, I'm very glad you're doing it. It is Valentine's Day, so you're going to love it. So, yeah, it's all
There are going to
good.
be a lot of love songs for
Good.
ages from like kids to
Older adults.
100-year-olds.
Yeah.
It's
Okay.
going to be a love review of the ages.
Okay. Love that. Now, your concerts, you always have a visual component. There's images, film accompanying the music. Why?
Yes. It brings another dimension to our concerts. The concert experience needs to be more than just a concert in this day and age. So it gives an audience not only a connection to the music, but it kind of opens up and fulfills a performance paradigm that I feel is really important in this day and age. I'm a follower of a few contemporary writers, philosophers, Malcolm Gladwell and Daniel Goleman. They're the emotional intelligence guys. Steven Pinker, who is a genius, and he's proposed that creativity involves combining existing elements in new ways. And I've always been on his train for sure. And Richard Florida. I met him many, many years ago in his book, The Rise of the Creative Class. And it hit me with the premise that today's society will likely not go out and passively see or hear things. In an age of declining audiences, which is now and has been for like over 20 years, we really need to have alternative kind of performance paradigms. And I've always been into that.
Mhm.
And he kind of made that a real thing. People are always in their day-to-day, they're behind computers and they work with the same focus every day. They don't want to like just go and be passive onlookers in things that they do in their free time. They want to be part of their leisure and things that like team sports, hobby clubs, and other things that are available. They want like that hands-on aspect. This is all growing right now and has been over the last 20 years because people are just so focused on being at the computer. If they're going to spend some money on something, they want to be part of it.
Okay.
Is really the bottom line. So just going to a concert just isn't really very fun to our contemporary audience. So I think that offering an experience with a few facets like visual images behind the orchestra and interesting lighting on stage. I don't know if you've noticed, but there's no such thing as turn the white lights on, we play, turn the white lights off, and we leave. It's all very colorful, and I think very carefully about all of this lighting. And sometimes this lighting even bleeds into the concert hall. And so this kind of like gives the audience, like we break that fourth wall, whether through body or whether through media, and it offers more of a connection with the spirit of the music. So the images aren't just there playing a movie. They're there to support the music. Everything supports the music. The colors of the lights support the music, and the video stuff supports the music. And we're never subservient to that stuff. And so this I really believe engages the audience more. And I feel like if I make them turn their neck a couple of times in a concert, they've engaged more than they have ever done when they went to another concert and sat in their chair and just watched or musicians have fun playing while they're just sitting there.
Okay. So are you going to have like holograms in the future?
I have been investigating holograms. I really
Okay.
have. And when I was at Arizona State, I worked with holograms. The barrier is the center and the technology that they can have and do in the hall itself. Because I could definitely do holograms. And I
Okay.
have a plan for something. And I actually had a guy that worked at the center who did lighting and all the techno stuff. And he was super into it. And we were going to have like whales actually floating across the audience 3-dimensionally. And then COVID hit and he left and it didn't happen.
Didn't
And
happen.
now I really don't know how I'm going to do it. But
Okay.
holograms is a thing of the future for
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah.
But with the technology that we have at stake and the capacity that we have at stake, I push the limits as much as I can
Good.
to bring what we're doing into the theater, into the audience, and maybe help them have more of an interactive experience, you know? And that's just a going to it thing, you know? And then there's some concerts where I actually have them sing along, and I like to play with the audience, and that is a thing that is, I think, really relevant to people who go to concerts, is that they go and engage in the experience rather than just showing up and sitting in a chair and falling asleep by intermission.
So you are the one who creates the visual images, correct?
Yes, I am.
Okay. I think it's so tricky and how that you coordinate the visuals and the music. Hats off to you because I can't figure out how you do it. So have anything changed in the 18 years?
The only thing that's really changed, I think, is that it's become more interesting to me in how to present concerts to the audience. Being in an orchestra and doing orchestra and conducting an orchestra hasn't changed in like 400 years. But I am somebody who looks at the horizon and what is on the horizon that I could captivate people with. And so I'm always looking forward. I'm always looking like, what could I do that could make this a little bit more interesting, a little bit better, a little bit more fun, a little bit more whatever. And so I try new things. I try new formulas for concerts and for concert programming. And like this year, this is a gamble. Do we do pops at the beginning? Is that going to help everybody? Is people going to like it or not? I don't know. But I like to try and look at the future and see what I can do to engage people more. And the orchestra actually seems to be more. The one big thing is that I think they're more engaged and they look more like they have fun while they're playing than in past. And this is something that I've always wanted. If they're playing something and they're kind of moving a bit and then they go, oh, no, I'm not allowed to do that. Well, that's not true. This is the RHPO. You can be whoever you want to be. And I think they're really getting that. And the other change is that I've always felt like it's been a family, even since day one, collectively a family every Monday. The family gets together and makes music together, and having lived in England, that's a thing. You go to someone's house and the piano always ends up having some fingers poking away on it and people sing, and there you go. And so the going to rehearsals, when you have a bunch of musicians, it kind of should feel like that. It should feel like you're coming home or coming to a party of a kind and making music together. And what I've noticed as a very, very positive thing over the past few years is when we get new musicians, in the past, they would come in, they look so scared and they wouldn't talk and everything. And everybody's really quiet because nobody wants to upset anybody, whatever. And it's become this thing where new people come in and everybody claps and, hey, how's it going? Ba, 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 ba. And they talk to each other. And sometimes it wastes maybe 5 minutes of rehearsal time all together for them to joke and have some fun. But that makes it a really fun environment. And a fun environment for musicians to play makes it way better for the audience. Whoa. So that would be the biggest change. And it only took 15 years to get there.
Okay. So I want to switch a bit from talking about the musicians to really thinking of the audience. And, what is the power of music? You're sitting there, you're enjoying your concert. This is a question I ask any podcast guest that's a musician, and I love the answers. So I'm looking forward to hearing what you have to say.
Music is powerful in and of itself. It's something that touches people in their heart, in their mind, in their body, connecting with people and allowing them to experience something in their imagination and maybe taking them away from their lives and make them feel a little better or uplifted for a couple of hours is really what the power of music can give to individuals. I know that music makes people feel. Full stop. People making music for people connects them and makes them all feel the whole experience way more intensely.
How would you describe the difference of experiencing music live and say I'm just walking around with my headphones on?
I love this question because it's such a pet peeve for me. Music on headphones is a bit of an escape for people. They can ignore everything that's happening around them. And I personally use headphones when I travel. Both, it helps me remove myself from the bustle of where I am. So if I have to go even downtown Toronto on the subway, I throw on headphones because I really don't want to hear all the noise. Noise makes me very uncomfortable. So I'll wear headphones. So it helps me separate from the bustle. But it also kind of engages my brain from the boredom of everything that has to do with going somewhere. Walking around with headphones enforces isolation. And that's, I think, a bad thing. But sometimes it can be a good thing. Because I would lose my mind if I had to listen to everything between Richmond Hill and Roy Thompson Hall on the subway and all that stuff. So I appreciate headphones. But on the other side, the live music experience, it brings people together. And while they may be escaping maybe from something in their personal space, they're forced to connect with the consciousness of those around them. In the end, a group of people who are at any live music event will all find the same heartbeat, and the music enhances brain activity, creates more intense and consistent engagement with the music. And if you put monitors on people, you would actually find that after about a half an hour, the flow would be the same with everybody in that audience, no matter where they come from and where they go to. And there have been studies in this and all kinds of things. It's a flow study. All of this fosters kind of a deep emotional, social, and psychological connection that far surpasses recorded music. I know it makes every person feel better than if they had headphones on because it's hitting every single part of you.
Yeah.
We're complicated people, and headphones is a very internal thing. Live music is an external thing, and everybody kind of absorbs each other. It's really cool.
Okay, so what would you say to someone to convince someone to come to the orchestra, to the RHPO, who's never been there before?
Okay, well, this is a tough one. You cannot convince anyone to change a preconceived notion about an orchestra performance. And a lot of people have that. They all have an opinion, And I ask, if I'm talking to somebody, I ask them to park their opinion. When I speak to people, I highlight how our performances are, to most people, something that everybody will get something out of. Musically, there's visuals, there's lighting, there's an artistic thought behind what we do. The facets of our concert usually intrigue people because they've not gone to a concert where there's movies playing behind the orchestra, or that somebody thought about using orange or teal or blue or purple in the lighting. And all of it, now they start to listen. So they already had a preconceived notion that this is going to be boring, but I can intrigue people by just, hey, you know what? Give it a shot. How much do you have to lose? A few bucks, and then you never have to come back if you don't want to. If they need more stimulation than just listening to music, they get it. If they don't need it, they don't have to look at anything. I've had a handful of people over 18 years go, I don't like all those movies behind the thing. Well, they don't look at it.
Yeah.
You just watch the musicians. You just turn your eye line down like a foot and you don't have to see it. So, and if you're that distracted, I think going to a concert is a good idea for you. It calm you down. Just saying, right?
Yeah.
So everybody gets to choose what they want to focus on. And the other thing is that each of our concerts focus on a theme. And this is what I tell people. Like, there's usually like a clear theme, like H2O. Everything's going to be about water. The only weird one this year is the Pop Song Parade, because it really is a throw the dice, everything's on it, pops thing. The theme is pops. But that's the first time I've ever done that. So I'm going to see how it goes.
Mm-hmm.
With the theme concerts, I can take people on a journey. I can and I can tell them a story beyond just, and now we're going to play this or that or that or that, and with no connection for the audience to anything but a list of music. And they probably won't remember any of the music if it's just that. I go to lots of concerts and I hear this and this and this and this and this, and there's like no relationship to anything. And a lot of the music I kind of forget I heard like a week later. So when things are knitted together, I think that people seem to remember certain music better because it was in a context that they can pull together, because I serve it up as an overall experience. So it's kind of like if you took up like 30 commercials and made them into a movie, you'd probably remember all 30 commercials. But if you only just saw 30 commercials on TV, you're not going to remember any of them. And so that's kind of my thought process behind it all. And it depends on who I'm talking to. I kind of explain the same thing, maybe obviously in different words to different people, but I sort of like let them know this is what you're going to get when you walk in the hall.
Now, I do end the podcast asking the same question of all guests, even if it's a repeat guest. I want you to name one thing you really like about this community.
So you've asked me this before.
Yeah.
And my answers, they've never been different, but this time I have to say, because I don't remember what I said before, I think this community has kindness and a true community feeling. And if we were, people say hello to each other, to strangers, they help each other at every turn, and they support each other. And I really believe that people live here and don't just reside here. And that's huge.
That is, whoa, I like that. Okay, well, we've had a great conversation. Thank you so much for that. And I hope to see you around town, in particular at the concert in October. Thank you for listening. I would very much appreciate you sharing this podcast. Consider emailing me at Marj, M-A-R-J, at marjandre.com. I welcome suggestions for podcast guests. Stay well, stay connected.